All right, here I thought I was having a good day until I looked down. I saw something on the blue pad, and I'm like, "What the heck is that? Did I spill something?" No, it's water. Why would it be water there? This can't be happening. There's no way. And there it is. I look at the connector, 1-inch connector going in the bottom of that bulkhead, and that flipping thing is cracked. Alright guys, this could possibly be the most nerve-wracking aquarium I've ever filled, and I'm going to tell you why here in a quick second. So, this is a 900-gallon tank, 10 by 3 by 4. Obviously, if you do all that in inches, we're 120 by 36. You can see we're only 12 inches tall. You do all that math and multiply it times 0.004329, you come up with 224 gallons of water. That's not too bad, right? Well, you multiply that times 8.34, which is the weight of a gallon, and you come up with 1,871 pounds. That's just a hair shy of 1 ton. Problem is, we're only 25% of the way up. We've got a long ways to go before we get to the top of the double island overflows. The problem is, we're on the 2nd floor. I'm really hoping this is gonna work because we're upstairs. All right, so I've been working on this thing little by little by little, and believe it or not, I think I'm actually there. Just this morning, I was wrapping up the closed loop. Let me get this light out of the way because I think it's making some shimmering effect. Stand right there. Okay, that's probably better. I just finished up this line this morning. This has always been here, that valve right there. But just today, I connected this all the way over, and this goes to that L1 Vectra motor. That's the line, that's the return line. That guy right there, right there. That's all plumbed in now. And now I was just wrapping up 4th and final return line for the main filtration system. That pipe right there goes up into one of the towers, right? The return line. So literally, I just got to glue this right here, put the strap on it. Actually, there's a couple of them throughout the way I've got to do. And I noticed that right there. Right now, we're at 15.5 inches. Got a long ways to go. Now, granted, this is probably one reason why we do leak checks. But this is something I never thought that I would see. I've never seen this actually. That connector is actually cracked. And this has been there for a while, and I don't know why that is cracked. I do see like a little dimple in the side of it, which I'm not quite sure what that's all about. But I've got a cracked connector. There's no pressure on it. Look, it's floating. The only pressure would be is way back there, and that's all brand new. I just did that this morning. So I don't know why that is cracked. I didn't crank it down that hard. But to fix this problem, this is going to require draining the tank. Probably making a cut back here, putting in my first coupling. I was trying to do this whole thing without any couplings. I was trying to make it really nice and good looking, but I'm going to have to cut this. This valve is going to have to come out because I'm going to have to make another cut right here, right? Because I got to put another connector in. To do that, I'm going to have to make a cut here so I can pull this whole thing out. I'm going to have to order another gate valve, 1 inch, and then obviously all new piping all the way up. That's a major thing though. To do that, I got to pull out all the water. I guess I don't know, maybe because we went up a couple more inches in the water level just last night, up 3 more inches, because I've been kind of walking this up nice and slowly, you know, putting the weight into the stand and the floor, and while that's happening, just continue working on the filtration system, which you can see now we're there. I mean, closed loop supply and return line is done, and then main filtration, supply and return lines, they're all done. They're done to the valves, right? Anything that goes down through the floor, I've not made that connection, or that I've not glued it yet. So these are all just kind of floating, even this one right here, and the 2 inch right there. But everything to a valve is solid, connected, glued, 100%. A lot of shaping here, a lot of design. This took some time. I think it looks pretty good. But now we have our first problem. It's kind of a big problem. I'm going to have to drain this thing. I need to go get one of the poly containers from the SeaWorld collection of stuff. That's up in the barn. I'm going to need 2 connectors. I got to save this water. We're probably going to drain it. From you remember the emergency drain over there. We're going to have to turn both handles and drain this down. I can't believe this. I've never seen that before. I've never seen a connector break. So I've been working on this, and little by little, it's coming together. But there's been some delays because remember, which I talked about before in one of the other videos, Where this tank is at, let me back up a little bit. There used to be a half bath. We gutted that. I gutted that. We have redirected it. Don't mind the toilet because that's getting mounted today. I actually took this laundry room. Close the door. We put in a new floor. That's the together floor. We've got a sink basin over here. This is all new. We went ahead and did some drywall work. And the reason I had to do some drywall work because back here, there's the 220 line for the dryer. There's a 110 for the washing machine. The washer and dryer used to be a side-by-side, meaning like side-by-side. So the electrical line was over here for the 220, and the 110 was somewhere else. Whatever case, I had to relocate both of those. So I had to bust into the wall, locate all the Romex. The dryer vent used to be way over here, so that all had to get broken out, reshaped over there. So that's new. Then we had to put in the toilet flange, which was the video before we talked about. That's now finally the top. That's all getting connected today. We had to do the plumbing line for the toilet. That's new. So that required obviously a lot of reshaping of the Romex and bringing in copper pipe. Then obviously the drywall, the tape, mud, primer, paint. So now the paint is done. And now we just did the stonework. Got the sink in place. That's getting real close. And then on the opposite side, none of it used to be here. This is all new cabinetry. We just used to have a couple of shelves in here. Got all the cabinetry from Home Depot. We sanded it, primered, sanded, painted, and now that's all done. So that's looking good. My buddy Casey from YouTube, Where's the Fish? We're actually picking up a piece of granite from him Wednesday night. So the video going to be coming up, which actually this video that we're watching right now will probably come after the Casey video. So by now you've already seen the Casey video, but we're going to be grabbing a piece of granite from him. We just got to put these boards on the end of the cabinetry. So this is almost done. We've got those photos going to be hung on the wall, and then some type of shelving system, which is going to go up here. So what I'm getting at is we've got a lot of time invested in here. We got all new lights coming up. There's 4 in here. So these are going to be coming down, and new ones are going up. But the laundry room / half bath is actually starting to show its color. So we've got a lot of time invested here into this little room, and which obviously has slowed things down over here in the 900. So I just play with this thing little by little, and it's coming together though. I mean, we're almost there. And now here I'm thinking everything was perfect, and now we've got to stop, go backwards. I've got to drain this 275 gallons of water, and we're just slowly bringing it up with the RODI water, just doing a leak check, and now all of a sudden I've got a broken connector. All right, so I just came downstairs. If you guys remember a couple of videos ago, we talked about this crazy pipe configuration I've got going on. That's that second valve for a water change. Big uh-oh factor if I needed to drain the tank quickly. Now, granted, I don't think I would ever want to do that, but it's there if an event. But if I wanted to keep that water, remember I talked about the second valve. I've never hooked that up yet, but I'm like, man, where the heck put that water? I just thought about going to go grab a couple of the poly containers. I'm looking over here at this one. This is a 300-gallon vat for the RODI water, but as you can see, almost full. We are at 200, that's 250, so we're right about there. I don't know, I'll call it 275. But then I just thought, wait a second. Well, this bad boy is 540 gallons of water. Well, it's a 540-gallon tank. It's empty. This is going to be up and coming here real soon. Why not just take that pipe and redirect it over here? This will hold 540. I just need to hide 275 gallons for a little bit, so let's do that. Let's change the piping around and turn the valves. All right, so just like that, we've got it all hooked up. You can see I stepped it down from 1.5 inches to 1 inch. Just working its way across the ceiling. Steps down, back-to-back 90, and then another back-to-back 90. And it's already dumping into the 540. We're already up around 2.5 inches, so it won't be long. Got to put that water somewhere, and we'll check out the 12-footer and make sure there's no issues. But I do remember seeing this filled to the top before when we purchased this tank, so there should be no issues here. But there's nothing wrong with a quick check. Not so much on the tank. Gonna double check that stand, but we should be good. That thing's built like a bear. All right, guys, if you've been watching the channel, you've noticed that we sprinkled in a couple of videos of the SeaWorld equipment that was here in Cleveland, Ohio. We purchased all those items that were hiding up on the 5th floor. You can actually scroll back and find those videos. It was a major undertaking. I mean, it took 11 or 12, I think it was 12 truck and trailer loads of equipment that we did after work, Thursday or Friday nights, and obviously it turned into some pretty late evenings. And we also took 2 26-foot Penske truck loads completely filled with stuff, also off the 5th floor. And we are now down to the last remaining items, which you can see right behind me is the 6 final triangles. And also the big thing, the big takeaway, which all I really wanted in the beginning, was the acrylic. Let me show that to you right now. All right, so first things first. Here are the triangles right here. These things measure 5 foot by 5 foot by 5 foot by 4 foot tall. They've got some type of like universal rock finish on them. They're pretty slick. Some were designed for aquatics. Some were obviously designed for reptiles, kind of like you see right here with the albino Burmese python. But there are 11 of these total, and these are the last remaining 6. We had to get a tow motor up here because whoever stacked these back in the day, they obviously put one on top of another, and we could not get these things down without the tow motor. So that portion is done right now. So those are ready to be packed up on the truck. But over here, you can see right there, there's a tow motor. This is what it really all comes down to. This pile right here, and then there's another pile actually to my left, underneath all this garbage. This is 6 foot wide, 8 foot long, 2 1/4 inches thick. There's 3 big ones right here, and there's actually one on top, which is this guy right here. This is 1.5 inches. This one is 4 foot by 8 foot. And then obviously the 3 big boys are up underneath. So we've got those, and then these right here. I remember, I think there was 8 of them. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then there's number 8 right there. These are 118 inches long. They're 44 inches wide, and these also are 2 1/4 inches thick. And they have a lip on them, right? This would be the top of the acrylic. And these were all connected together at one time. And these were part of the sea lion and sea otter closure at SeaWorld, Cleveland. So today what we're gonna do is we gotta get the tow motor to sneak inside here. And at least in this situation, the way they stacked it, you can tell right here, I can't get the tow motor between the forks between. Probably gonna pick up the first 2 on the first bite, and then it looks like one by one I can sneak in there and grab the rest of them. We need to separate these so we can get them out of here. And these things are pretty heavy. It's my understanding, based upon the dimensions, each one of these weigh roughly 525 pounds apiece. So that's why we got the tow motor. So, all right, let's jump on that and start separating this acrylic. Talk about a DIY tank that could be made out of this. Like I said, this was the whole reason why we purchased everything here on the 5th floor. To be honest with you, I didn't really want the other stuff. I really just wanted the acrylic to someday do a massive DIY tank, either for a personal setup or for something that we're going to do in a business someday. All right, so there it is. We've got all the acrylic laid out. I've got 2 rows on each section. They're double high, so you're looking at probably 1,000 pounds per section, maybe 1,200. But at least it's broken down where it's a little bit more manageable. And now we'll get a pallet jack up underneath here, and then we'll put the dollies, the carts, on either side, and we should be able to roll these onto the elevator. They've got to go in, you know, vertically like you're seeing here, because the width of the acrylic is actually wider than the width of the elevator, if you got that. So they got to go in longwise. Same with going into the truck, the Penske truck. They've got to roll in like this. But at least they're down double rows. They're a little bit more manageable now. And then we went ahead and flipped over the protein skimmer, because believe it or not, we took this thing down a couple weeks ago, and it fit into the elevator vertically on the 5th floor, but when we got down to level 1, it would not fit out the elevator doors. I couldn't believe it. We were off by literally about 2 inches. It was actually hitting the bolts, and we had no choice but to bring this thing back upstairs. And just today we just flipped it over with the tow motor, so it'll be a little bit more manageable now. And that's the protein skimmer. The head unit for that has already been has left the building. It's pretty big. This one here, I think when the head unit on, this one's probably pushing about 12 feet in height overall. And then I just did notice the other protein skimmer cup. This thing's 5 foot tall. This just showed up. This goes on top of the 12-foot tall poly tank that we already got out of here. And if I remember, the poly tank was 1,000 gallons or 2,000 gallons. I can't remember. It was about 12 foot tall and 4 foot, maybe 5 foot diameter, but this is the head unit for this thing, and this was for the dolphin enclosure. So by the time this thing goes on top of the main poly body, you're probably pushing 15 to 16 foot tall on this particular protein skimmer. All right, so I was just getting ready to put on the sealant right here for the 1-inch connector before I screwed this up inside the schedulated bulkhead. All right, so if you look close, you can actually see that there's substrate between the gasket, which is that rubber ring on the bulkhead, and the bottom of the tank. I don't quite know how substrate got between the two, but as you can look up inside there, that's the return line going to the coral, so I really can't even push the bulkhead up to get my finger between there. So I've come up with an idea. I'm going to take the air line from the air compressor, I'm going to shoot high pressure air in there, and hopefully that can push that substrate away from the bulkhead and kind of clear that area up so we can have a good seal. So let's see how this works out. All right, so that worked out pretty good. You can see right there's the air line. What I did was I went ahead and just shot this right up inside here, and that went ahead and pushed all the sand away from the bulkhead. So for the most part, that's looking a ton better from what it did before. So now the next thing I'm going to do, which I don't probably recommend it, I wouldn't normally do it, but in a situation like this, because that bulkhead is hidden within the corals on the opposite side, and I'd never be able to really get to it, I'm going to put silicone right there in that void from the outside diameter of the bulkhead to the inside diameter of that hole. Right there, I'm going to fill that void around the circumference of the actual bulkhead itself, just to create myself just a little bit of insurance, because this is not a bulkhead we want to leak. This would be horrible. On the opposite side of that seal is 900 gallons of water. Let me show you the silicone that I'm going to use because it's special. All right, so this is the silicone that we're going to use. Now this kind of stuff you would find over by the windows and doors area of like your Home Depot or Menards or Lowe's. This is not going to be probably grouped up with the other silicones. This stuff's completely different because this is going to adhere to the actual acrylic and that bulkhead, where typical silicone will just peel right away. This stuff's going to lock right in. All right, so it's been a couple hours. You can see the water level is coming back up. And one thing I want to point out real quick is we've got the Vectra L1 running. So that's kind of cool. I've got it all programmed to be on a closed loop system as opposed to that of a filtration. I had to get in there and kind of reprogram that, which wasn't too difficult. It was kind of hanging me up a little bit, but in the end we got it. So I've got it on full speed right now. And that water is shooting back in there on that coral insert, that little hole right there, and on the opposite side. So they're saying it does 3,100 gallons per hour. I'm not for sure if that's true or not, but I do have a lot of 90s, right, that are part of that return line, so that could be reducing me down there a little bit. Head pressure wise, it's not too terribly tall. I mean, if you think about where their motor is positioned right now to where the corals are at, probably no more than about 3.5 feet as far as head pressure. But like I said, I think I did count the 90s. When you come out of that return line right there, hits a direct T, so right there kind of probably slows me down a little bit. But I think I had 11 90s. But in the end, it is shooting back. The water is definitely circulating. And we're up pretty high right now. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the hose back on, which you kind of see over here in the corner. It's coming in from the top right there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on, and we're going to go ahead and raise this up a little bit more. Stakes are getting higher because the water level is getting higher. I'm actually getting kind of nervous. You just never know with this kind of thing. This is many years in the making. You work on a project, then it kind of falls on a wayside, and then you pick back up on it, and then just finally we're to the point now where it's there's no backing out now because we've got water in this thing, and we want to shoot for the top. All right, let me turn on the water. All right, so there it is. We're probably going to wrap this video up right now. As you can see, we're halfway, so I guess about 450 gallons. Obviously, there's a little bit of deduct there for the coral insert, but man, I tell you what, we're still going up. A little nerve-wracking, but I guess you guys are just going to have to come back to the next video and see how this whole thing plays out. So appreciate you guys watching and following along, and I guess we'll just cross our fingers and we're going to see you in the next one. All right, guys, we'll see you later. We're out.